Oh, I'm going off the top of my head. Also, there are timestamps in case you want to skip forward, but I did want to talk about quickly the, basically, how many carrots you get per month. So, anywhere from 15,000 to 25,000, depending on your club progress, you know, how far you are at PvP, and if you're loyally doing events and whatnot. Otherwise, let's just get into it. Not really much to say. I don't think much has changed, but I am trying to make a... Am I trying to do Silent Suzuka? Yeah, we'll do Silent Suzuka. I did a Silent Suzuka previous. Maybe I'll show at the end, but I was dealing with some issues. Hopefully it's not so bad. But I think I'm still gonna take Super Creek, by the way. So as we start this, not really much else to go on. I will talk about carrots just a little bit more, but we'll wait for the training to start. For timestamp's sake, if nothing else. So, yeah, carrots, basically from what I understand and what I remember, because I remember getting 15,000 as well in JP. So, and that was me not, like, kind of just doing the bare minimum dailies now on and off. Otherwise, you can get upwards of 25,000, 30,000 carrots per month. Now, is that enough for you to get what you want as a free-to-play? Yes, because 30,000 is what you need to spark. But whether or not you'll have what you actually want and or need, mainly a lot of limit break / uncaps, but yeah, because I was curious to see how much carrots we get. I didn't know if things had changed in between 2021 and now, but yeah. For those who have no idea what I'm talking about, basically, just to repeat myself again, is, yeah, I did have a JP... I was playing on the JP server, and then I lost my data, and I can no longer recover my account, so because I don't even remember. So, yeah, now that we're in here in global, though, maybe I was thinking some things have changed. But again, anyone let me know if I'm wrong, because if I'm wrong, that means at least 5 other good sources are wrong, one of them including the community itself. But you get what I mean, I think. So, yeah, and so that's a lot more. I mean, I want people to... What's the phrase I'm looking for? Because my brain is not working at the moment. Basically, it would be nice to be able to get what you want, but with how frequently banners may come out, because it seems like things may be coming out quicker than trainers expect, then yeah. You gotta pick and choose. But for the most part, from what I understand, if you want more kind of, at least what I'm hearing about, but I would say advice, is that every basically few months at minimum, but really 6 months is something that drops that you really, really want, whether it's an Musume or whether it is a support card that you desperately probably should be grabbing and trying to limit break and uncap. Yeah, every about 4 to 6 months. I would say 3 to 4 months, depending, realistically speaking, but from what I hear, it's actually every 6 months. And obviously the anniversary of a global server as well. In this case, the scheduling of a global server. 14%! Okay, good. But, again, if nothing else, if you really, really want to be in the know, and if you're watching and or listening to this video, you probably already know, but if you listen to the community, you'll hear a lot of what you should be looking for, at least banner-wise. As opposed to the clubs and carrot systems, for those who are less in the know, again, staying with your club for at least, is it 2 to 3 weeks? But basically, every month you get goodies if your club is, you know, even just doing things daily. Again, like I remember, and if I check in the club, I'll do that at the end. Hopefully I remember to do that. I have to take down notes, otherwise I might forget. But if I don't remember, then essentially know that every month you should be getting a 10 pull. If your club's total grade is underneath this threshold, then you'll get less, but essentially get a 10 pull. And if you're with whales, or you have a very, 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 very good club, then you should be getting 20 scouts worth of carrots, or 3,000 carrots specifically. So that's the threshold, among other things you can get. I think, in my opinion, a lot of what makes Musume good for free-to-plays is the basically always recurring and always coming out, the content that you're being given, and at least in terms of carrot economy, you're getting carrots and other goodies, alarm clocks, upgrade items, so on and so forth, through events that appear. Pretty much, there's always an event going on, which is now I mean, if we're speaking generally in gacha games and gacha terms, is something that I see a lot more often. There's usually something going on. For most mobile games, there is an event going on, so at least in terms of Musume, you can still grab goodies in the meanwhile. And then there's kind of a loyalty system, which is something that probably Future Jordan has put in the thumbnail. the topic of loyalty in a game. Now, that being said, if you really want to bring yourself to, if you're really trying to get far in Uma Musume, yes, you are very likely to do a lot better. Let me repeat that, because I needed both of those statements of degree. You are likely to do a lot better in Uma Musume if you can spend enough money to spark. Now, I'm not in this is not financial advice. Please don't slap me in the face. I mean, you can, but you know your limits. I'm not you, so only you can spend your resources wisely. In this case, money, real life money. And as I may have mentioned before, but if I didn't, I'll say it again now. You don't need to spend 420,000. Again, assumably if you're on the low end or just playing really casually, or a complete free-to-play who is, again, not as in tune with Uma Musume, at least playing every day, because there are other games out right now. But a certain restart of something. But you get what I mean. So if you're even just doing that much, you should be getting around 15,000 carats per month, which, when I think about it, that was actually what I was getting. So that's not so bad. Every 2 months you can spark if you absolutely need to, for which my purposes, I don't mind, but since I'm doing a lot better, yeah, if you're staying in tune, apparently you're going to get 20 to 25,000 carats. Again, I'm sticking in mind, this was brought up, I might as well say it because it's out there. There are comments on my Kita-san Black video, wondering and just saying, hey, you can get this much carats, or I have this much carats, but what I was trying to poke at on top of the thing afterward, but really, yes, I made a mistake in my calculations, because I was thinking, I really felt like you weren't getting as much. Definitely not through the daily missions, because as you may have noticed, you get 30 carats per day from the daily goals. But obviously there are other things, and I don't like to include one-time carats, because that's not. You really want to be looking at carats you can get daily, weekly, and or monthly. That's my thing. But from what I looked into, and from what I hear, you are getting, again, anywhere from 15,000 to 25,000 usually, regularly. And then really, if you're high-end, you should be getting 30,000 carats per month. But, again, you have to be in tune with things like being in a club that's, at least moderately well-ranked. If you didn't know, there's a ranking system. Again, at the end of the video, I should show you. But otherwise, if you have the game yourself, you can go in, and there's an I button right next to your club's grade or something like that, or the name, or the name. You can check that to see information about your club, including its grade, and how many carats and goodies you'll get per month, essentially. And the other nuance to that, if nothing else, if you don't remember anything else, is that you do have to be with your club for long enough for you to get these monthly rewards. So you can't just jump ship. That's kind of the jump ship protection. This is a better phrase for it, but I'm trying to focus on getting 5,000 fans, because I have not raced yet. Training specifically, I usually like to wait 5 turns, or every 5 to 7 turns, then I like to race. I might race like a turn or two sooner, but that depends. Also, I would like to do them. Funny enough, I'm going to go for the mile one. We're not actually that prepared, but it's RNG at this point. Actually, to that end, you know what? We're going to watch this race, because I'm interested to see what happens. Yeah, we're missing a few stats here and there. At least I'm just looking at the evaluation. Really, if you're high-end, you should be at 200, 250 in everything else minimum. That will give you a lot better odds to win these races, because you can still RNG and fail races. You get a late start into getting blocked as a front runner, you get rushed and you run out of stamina because you didn't build as much stamina, because a difference of 10-20 stamina at the early game apparently does make a difference, but that's my observations. That did not come from any guide or trainer. That's what I am saying, so whether you believe me or not is entirely to your own discretion. I'm using a big word, but basically it's up to you to believe whether or not. Otherwise, I'm really also looking at this just to see if we hit a stamina problem. Stamina, I think, is one of the easiest stats to see that you're lacking in, because something very obvious will happen during the race. So, yeah. But otherwise, yeah, the carrot situation, basically your carrot should be doing well. I was wrong about at least specifically whether or not you'll get enough carats for Kita-san Black, because if nothing else, you'll get 30,000 carats during Kita-san Black. I'm kind of watching this because some people are reporting, both in my comments and in the community, that they'll have enough at around 25,000 carats, or they're sitting on that many carats with just 10 to 40 pulls at the very beginning. And I'm looking at how many carats I'm getting per week, essentially, and I'm like, are we really gonna get 30,000 carats? Because as you saw at the very beginning of the video, I had 24,000. I basically had 25,000 carats, and Kita-san Black, the SSR card, is coming in about 10 days. And we're assuming, so am I generous, I believe. My Steel Man argument was that you're getting about 300 carats per day. Now, again, if you're doing a lot of the one-time things, yes, I can see us getting 30,000 carats, but I was looking at mainly the regular... Oh, please tell me. Okay, good. But I was looking at how many we get per day, and I'm like, with how much we're getting, we're not going to get 30,000 carats, and we're already at the beginning of the month, so anyone who would have gotten... I don't think we did get club rewards, but anyone who would have gotten club rewards still wouldn't have enough. But again, if you're doing all the one-time stuff, especially when the event comes out, I can see people getting 2,000 to 3,000 carats a minimum while doing the event that comes with Kitasan Black. Or the scenario, I forgot which. And then the Legend Cup races are coming too, and I think just participating grants you the most goodies, but obviously doing well in PvP, Legend races, scenario modes, time-limited things basically, give you the max rewards, which is a lot, actually. I don't know the exact ratio, but it would be good to think that you can get about at least 50% of the total rewards just by participating, which is already high enough. Sometimes in other, let's just say other games, you don't even get around 33%, which is definitely not enough to spark or pity, depending on the thing. I said pity, but it's in terms of Uma Musume here, when you're scouting, it's more accurate to call it spark, correct? Correct me if I'm wrong. Because spark relates to the exchange of essentially all the, in this case, scouting you're doing. And pity is essentially the guarantee that you get if you were to continue with a banner in a game. But, you know. Also, I'm supposed to be focusing Super Creek here because I do want a bit more stamina. But I am pretty much, you're going to see me build a lot of stamina. That's not the point of this. Actually, I would actually like 600 wit. But I don't think we're going to get that either. Depends on what happens. So I can explain too. If I don't explain, I'll tell you right now because there's nothing else happening on screen. But I did a Silent Suzuka run, I think a few hours before me recording here. And we had 5 turns lost due to me deciding to rest and not Tazenaing. So as you notice, I have the Tazena. I should actually switch this career profile. We have the Tazena support card, which, again, to me is the more consistent. It's good for consistency, not good for potential. What I mean by that is you can replace Tazena or Aoi if you have her with whether the SSR or just R or SR. You can replace them with a stat card, but what happens there is that you have to rely on rest, and the more rest you do, the more RNG can be bad. But again, if you're trying to hit a higher ceiling, a higher stat count in total, or if you're trying to hit a certain stat distribution, or just basically trying to increase your stats overall, you do want to replace your trainer with a good support card. Otherwise, the trainer themselves, I think, it's my little rule that I like to call any numbers greater than 0, even if it may be like 0.00001. So having, or another way to say it is having certainty is better than no certainty at all. So what I mean by that is, so what happened specifically, I will just explain the situation, is that I did a rest, got what is it called? Night Owl, got Night Owl, then I had to spend pretty much 5 turns, so that's 5 turns of training that I didn't do, because what happened is I had to infirmary, I went to the infirmary, didn't get rid of Night Owl procced, lowered our mood, then I did infirmary again, so that's the second turn, then I got rid of Night Owl, then I had to do recreation, and I didn't get karaoke, so I had to do recreation again, and then I finally did training. So that was kind of more 4 turns, but really the turn in which you suffer under something should also count as a turn, because that's essentially at least a half turn or an event that replaces whatever happened, or the turn in which you rest, which could have been something else. So, shrug. Another reason I like to go in stamina earlier, and this is something that obviously you want to hit a stat distribution, but what am I trying to say? My words in my brain. I was thinking about the timestamp and not talking through the timestamp, but it should be fine. I guess I'll save it until after the goal timestamp. Again, this is for future Jordan's sake, not for the sake of staying cohesive through the video. Oh, goodness. Yeah, I did forget what I was talking about. Gosh, me, why do I do this to myself? So, yeah, Tazen thing. If I remember, I remember. If I don't, I don't. Oh, stamina, yeah. So I like building stamina, and even if you don't, yes, you want to hit a stat distribution, say 600, 600, 600, 300, 400. just from left to right if we're looking at the stats. But in the middle of your run, like at the, say for example at the very beginning, you really want to get all of your stats to at least 100, 150 depending on the stat distribution, but really 100 minimum. More than 150 if you want to reliably win the junior make debut, because otherwise bad things can happen, or it could just be RNG. But I think you understand what I'm trying to get at here. You want to make sure your stats are high enough, if for no other reason than to outstat your rivals. That way you have a higher chance of winning your races. More specifically and more to the point is that in the middle, so Silent Suzuka has a few mile races, but we just did a medium race. I'm sure the stamina requirement for it, over like if you're looking at practical, hey, you can always get first, isn't as high as a medium race would normally be. Again, you only need to outstat your rivals, but it is still a race that is, say, well, all of these races are 2,000 meters plus. They're not strictly mile or sprint burst races, which will probably be what you want to build your Silent Suzuka for. The funny thing about that is that since the URA scenario makes it easier on your stats, funny enough, if you're building for the medium races, say here for Silent Suzuka, you're essentially setting yourself up to be good for mile races and sprint races outside. Now, that's not to say that's a 1-to-1 ratio. You actually want your stamina higher than you think for races outside of the URA scenario, from what I recall. But essentially, it helps out to build some stamina as well, because otherwise at least I found myself losing a lot of team trial races, and then I looked at what was happening, and yeah, we didn't have enough stamina. So specifically, obviously, since you're fighting, let's see, asynchronous, you're fighting with another player's Musume in general. Yeah, the ones I'm losing to normally have like 100, 200 more stamina than I do, and if you look at the races, it's very evident why and when that's happening. So I'll explain it here. So if you don't have enough stamina, your Musume, if you imagine the placement here, and they're running from left to right, and the first place is on the right, last place is on the left, you'll see your Musume just slide over to the left in terms of place, and their place will go from like 2nd to 11th. That's essentially what happens when you run out of stamina. Now, things change at the last spurt. You get a bit more stamina due to your guts, along with the other effects of guts and all your other stats, and there could be a whole host of things. Maybe you just get blocked in the middle of the race, and so whoever's in front of you slows down. It's because they run out of stamina, and then you're just being sad. But if I recall correctly, I think that's the primary goal of type of guts builds, essentially, with a certain style. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, if nothing else is just me talking out loud for no one else than myself, but I know trainers have trained girls, because at team trial races you can have 2 to 3 girls at this point. Most people have 3, or a lot of trainers have 3, but you get what I'm trying to go at. So you train one of those girls to be a front runner or a pace chaser, one of the first 2 strats, but you build them with lower stamina but higher guts. So what happens is you hold up everyone who might be behind you unless they have higher power or have enough power to pass you. But what ends up happening is that at the last spurt, because that girl has more guts, even though they have less stamina, they use that guts to help them boost and try to take first if they need to. Otherwise, you could just also go all in on having one girl try to hold up the rest, while one is a front runner, and then you just do that. That's my understanding of that strategy. Does that sound a bit cheap to some people? Sure, but I mean, it's what happened. I haven't seen it yet, but I think it'll be very evident when it does happen. If it's not just RNG, because again, you don't know what exactly may be happening in a race, but you can kind of get a good idea of what's happening. Also, you'll notice that I take Swinging Maestro here. I'll talk about that right after this next timestamp as we go move into our next goal here. But yeah, and you have good reason to laugh if you're looking at this and you're like, why are you training Silent Suzuka with a Super Creek card? Well, as we get into the next timestamp here, the reason why I have a Super Creek is mainly to get Swinging Maestro, because I'm going to put, even for mile races, I've just started to build more, or at least granting my girls Swinging Maestro, which may not have, definitely does not have as much of an effect, especially if you have lower stamina, but if you're not in longer races, it has less of an effect, but I feel like it still has a significant, it's not insignificant, that's what I'm trying to say. So that's why I have Super Creek. If no other reason, then just by trial and error, which is why I apologize to my own club members, but my fan count is really low because I've done, I think half of my runs have just been early ended because I don't like to clock, and or my stats just are out of whack because I tried going without Super Creek and I found myself just dying all the time, so yeah. On a tangent note, you'll note the reason I might be careful with my words sometimes is because I consider, Musume is a say-so game, and so I'm trying to control my language as well. But not that I really say anything bad outside of Uma Musume videos, but maybe it's for immersive experience, but really it's just to be mindful, I guess. I can't really explain myself because my mind is trying to focus on what I'm doing here. We are lacking... are we lacking anything? No. I would like more power. Otherwise, I think I'm just going to continue building everything else. But what's unfortunate is that we're sitting here... do you have... I'm just going to look for bonds. Do we have already bonds? I could do Reporter or more Tazna. No, we already have Tazna. So we'll just Guts, I guess. Really, you can go minimum 250 or 300 Guts. I like going to 400, 500. Really, I'd like to be at 500, but then all my stats would have to be higher than Guts as well. So, I'm working with what I have. It's not the greatest, but it's definitely good enough. If you have a bunch of SRs and SSRs, even if not all of them are uncapped, you should be able to challenge URA a good amount of the time. I'm just doing testing and trying things on my own and failing to win URA finals, so... shrug. But again, feel free to let me know if you're in a similar situation as I am, and for some reason you're still not reaching your A finals. But from what I know, most people are still. Again, basically what I'm trying to say is if you have my cards, even though I only did 10 support card rolls, I should be reliably getting URA champ, is what I'm trying to say. Or maybe that's not right, and someone else can say, actually, Jordan, no, that's not the case. But, hey. Keep in mind, I got Tazuna from the free SSR, and the missions for this day aren't really training related. When they happen, I will be making basically videos kind of trying to focus on those. But otherwise, oh my goodness. Fine. I think, out of curiosity, actually, I want to check now. Do I spend less energy as long as Agnes Tachyon is with me? Actually, I didn't even look at what we got. What did we get? It's something better than a carrot, I think. What did we get? No, it was just a carrot. Never mind. Never mind. Well, that sounded better than a carrot. But anywho, let's just move on. Also to note, yes, you should be strategizing through all of your events as well. Don't do what I'm doing. I am kind of just blindly going through. Also, you should have taken speed there. I'm taking stamina just to slowly tweak my runs and see. My last Silent Suzuka did make it to, I think, at least semifinals, but we didn't get champion, which is what you want. You really, really want the URA, the chance to get the URA spark, I think. Unless that doesn't exist, but I'm pretty sure the URA champion, basically, becoming URA champion grants you a chance to get the white spark for the URA races, which is a nice boost. I don't know if it's... I forgot how good it actually is, but I want to say it's good. That being said, did we get Swinging Maestro? We did not. We can grab Focus. We're going to get Concentrate as well. And if you want actual numbers, even though I don't entirely understand what the numbers mean because no one has asked the question for some reason lately, I can probably find it. But when I did a quick search, I didn't find it. But what I'm trying to say is, so the effect, we'll just say the numbers. The effect of Focus, which is the normal rarity skill, is... Oh, tell me I have enough for this. Okay, good. Is 0.4 to the effect, and Concentration, which is the rare version of the skill, or the upgrade, is 0.9. So, again, following the pattern that is rarer skills do a lot more than their normal skill counterparts, which is why, again, some trainers just look down on normal skills, but really, if you have the chance to get rare skills, and they make sense for whoever you're giving them to, in this case, usually front runners, sometimes pace chasers, but any girl can use it as well. Grabbing Concentration is a safe pick, but mostly, if not almost always, if not always, required for front runners. But yeah, we haven't gotten. I don't think it's guaranteed as well, unless it's dependent on Tazuna's bond at the final event. That's something I should look up, but. Again, knowing all of these things is another part of, well, your training experience, really. And for anyone who is a master of training idols, is I guess just a phrase I'll use here. Yeah, Uma Musume should just be a pretty is gonna fit like a glove with the flavor of gacha as well. And if you don't mind it as much, you can still enjoy Uma Musume. Again, in my opinion, I think Uma Musume is really good for AFK play. Or for anyone who's, I mean, I'm not saying that you should do this, but anyone who's a white-collar worker, you know, if you have your phone beside you and you just tap every now and then to train your Daiwa Scarlet. I don't know why I always say Daiwa Scarlet, but if you want to train your Daiwa Scarlet while you're punching in numbers on next to a computer, you do you. Especially if your boss is cool. I've seen a few cool bosses who don't really mind that someone is just, you know, has something else that they're doing, as long as they get the work done. But again, that depends. That's to each their own. And when I'm talking about bosses, I mainly mean in America. The United States of America, which is the country in which I live. I don't mind saying that much. Unless I'm no longer living in the United States, then that would be weird. But, anywho. So, yeah, I do want my power and guts to be higher, but I think we'll just for the sake of content, I really shouldn't do this for the sake of content, but for the sake of content, I'm going to try to get my wits up to 600. Well, you don't need to hit 600, because the thought is that I'm reaching URA finalist, or becoming URA champ, but I guess for safety reason, I'll stop at about 580 wits. Otherwise, I think my power will just increase through just using speed training, but Guts, on the other hand, is a different story. That being said, so I may have mentioned it before, and if I didn't, I'll mention it now. There are those who are using, essentially, Guts cards, which I can see why it's working, because when you look at the Guts training, you do increase your speed and power as well, and that will help out a lot. I can see that helping out a lot, at least for the first half of the training, definitely, because you're training the other stats that are pretty much required, and stamina is not as much of a worry as we get our mood decreased by, what was that, a migraine? Anywho. But yeah, I can see Guts stat builds working, and even just getting you to URA champ, as long as you supplement everything else, so even though I was about to talk a little badly about the Haru Urara SSR that's sitting in the club points shop, yeah. I can see, again, what I was actually trying to say is, yeah, if you wanted to show me, like, hey, I have a vodka that has, like, 700 guts, and every stat is, like, around 500, and I won champ easy. Well, first of all, I don't know how easy it actually is, not because I didn't see your run, but because, well, also, as I move into the next point, having 500 in all of your stats gets you past that minimum requirement, in my opinion, to win the URA finals in general. If for no other reason, then if you look at the other girls that you're racing against, they pretty much also have like 500, 550 in their stats. So, unless that's not a good qualifier of saying whether or not you'll win a certain race at all, but again, at that point, I'm just going to actually rest here for the mood and the energy. The small amount of energy, but But again, that's what I'm saying when things are speculative fact, because there's no way we can know for sure. At least more so in Uma Musume than anywhere else. Okay, fine, I'll do a speed training. If nothing else, this is going to be interesting. I mean, it's good anyway, but I guess we can run the test here. Super Creek, why are you not giving me anything? Out of curiosity, I might as well check now. And there is a difference, like, at level 40, I would like to see level 45 Super Creek, but 40 is just as good. It's just that the initial friendship gauge really helps out. If other trainers didn't already tell you. But what was I looking for, actually? Specialty, yeah, you do have specialty priority, but you never really land on this. Anywho. I guess we'll do it here. I already rested once, so whether I do a speed training or not, doesn't really matter to me. Now, that's not a lot, but I'll still take it. 37 stats overall is pretty good for me. Although I would like at least 450 power. Really, I would like 500 power for running front runner here in the URA scenario, but again, just working with what I've got. That's not an excuse for me to fail, by the way, because as I've mentioned before, I think you should be able to reliably get URA champ. It may not be 100 or 90% even, but it's good enough. Goodness gracious, I'm not in the Chihaya spiral. Why is this happening? Yes, I have experienced the Chihaya spiral. Boy. I don't have it close by, but if no other reason, I mean, this is not the game in which that term applies, but I do have a certain one for all, and I think it's around my place of residence still, so I definitely played that as well. But yes, I know what that spiral means. It's pretty painful. I felt it in my face. Anywho, let's get this done. So yeah, for everything but the URA finals, with this Silent Suzuka, we should be able to make it to the end, clear all of our goals. But I personally want to win URA as well, so I guess we'll see what happens. Again, I'm doing a test here, just seeing if I can go. And apparently also another correction to myself, you don't need 1200 in a stat, only 1100 to get your chance of 3-star sparks to 10%. 3-star. And if I'm wrong about that, then someone's lying. Because some sources say 1200, and literally recent sources say 1100. And I believe both sources. One is granted, one was a lot older, but I guess we'll see. So yeah, as you can see here, I feel like I would have more trouble if I didn't have Swinging Maestro. But again, that's my speculation. But maybe I'm not right. I think this is our goals, right? Yeah, this is all goals. I've looked at over it until I'm like late October. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. Well, if we kept getting rainbow training, we could have definitely hit 1100 speed. Also, apparently, there's a funny little stat degree here, in which after 600 speed, yes, you have a higher chance of getting, or you have a good chance. You have a chance of getting 3-star, but somewhere in between 600 and 1100, there's a chance that you actually don't get. You have a lower chance of getting 3-star of a stat if it rolls into the stat. In this case, it would be speed, but you understand. And then after 1100 speed, you have the full, or as much as doesn't matter, chance, 10% chance of getting 3-star if the game chooses speed. Again, it has to choose the stat that you want, which is why I'm also increasing wits, because then I'm like, okay, well, at least I have wits just in case the game chooses. But essentially, we're flipping a coin, specifically more often. Unless there's a weight behind them, I have a 40% chance of hitting a stat I want. And then after that 40% chance, I have to hope that the game decides to give me 3-star legacy / inspirations. I'm deciding what I want to do here. I guess I will build wits more. Even though we're guaranteed to go over 600, but we didn't see anything else, so I guess we're gonna hope. Friendship training 3-4 times in a row, maybe? That certainly helps. I know I can hit 45 something plus, but depends on the supports that are there. Definitely need Aishin, Flash, and Spitchan to both do friendship training there, but I think... Well, I guess we'll see. So, I mean, if there's nothing else, I mean, I could just choose to rest instead. Yeah, we'll rest. Don't give me... Okay, I was about to say, don't give me sleep deprived into a negative effect and mood decrease, more importantly, please. Also, apparently, without racing anywhere else, really, we get medium URA here, which... Yeah, that does present a little bit of a problem. We thankfully did get through it, though. But yeah, it's the semifinals that I'm probably going to fail again, but I guess we'll see. So we'll watch the race just to see what happens. Pretty sure. Also, going to check to see if Swinging Maestro proc. I think Swinging Maestro is guaranteed to proc as well. But that I'm not as sure of. Otherwise, I could take Stamina here. I don't think we can get to 1100 speed. Do we want... Nah, yeah, we'll just do this. I actually want this Silent Suzuka to replace... Because what I'm also training Silent Suzuka for is to get a Mile Racer in my team. And I would want more stamina regardless, so... But that's just me. Again, I could just be doing something completely inefficient, or that doesn't work, but we'll see. So... As we enter this medium race, or really, I think it's at least always 2,000 meters, right? Medium races. So 2,000 meters, that should translate to about, well, at least for the sake of URA scenario, about 400 to 500. Less if you have stamina recovering skills like I do, but more. And as I said, I think the judges' predictions don't account your skills. I guess that kind of makes sense as well, at least from a game design perspective, because you are not guaranteed to proc those skills, so giving the player a bare minimum rather than the max potential makes more sense. But also giving them the average, I guess, would make sense as well, but hey. So, as we're sitting here, so if I'm not going out front and you're like, you might be saying, well, Jordan, I thought you have 900 or 1,000 plus speed. Why are you still not... Why is your Silent Suzuka not in first for the very, first quarter of the race? Well, that's because I'm pretty sure a lot of that has to do with the acceleration, and a lot of acceleration's determination is power, I believe, and as you see, we have, barely 400 power, while everyone else has, 500, so everyone else is going to accelerate more so. And again, it makes it harder for Silent Suzuka to pass, even if I think the visuals are kind of misleading. Because even if you're running, unless it does, I can see lanes being a thing in terms of actual how the girls are determining their when to pass or if they're trying to pass. But basically what I'm trying to say is if Silent Suzuka is directly behind someone and we don't have a lot of power, that can be bad. But otherwise, if we're in front like this, especially because Silent Suzuka is Silent Suzuka, and if you don't know what I mean, essentially Silent Suzuka's unique skill relies on you just being in front, basically. I don't know the exact requirements or if you need to be that far ahead while in the final spurt, but basically seeing Silent Suzuka proc, unless another girl has a unique skill of their own that's proccing, she's gonna take first. So there's Meijiro McQueen. We also did not get the upgrades because I haven't been focusing on fans either, but yeah, this is, if you see this during the URA scenario, usually things are gonna end well, but yeah, the camera angle fooled me because I was like, isn't Meijiro McQueen still catching up to me? Vodka's also trying to catch up. Vodka's another... Funny enough, I've watched a few, both in the past and now, recently, of people just losing to Vodka because Vodka just comes out of nowhere. And maybe it's actually meant to be, but Vodka usually comes from the outside. Vodka, at least from what I've seen, doesn't usually cut from the inside, but I can imagine that happening, but for some reason maybe it's just funnier to notice that it happens from the outside more often than from inside. Waiting for the timestamp. So, ow, I was scratching my arm. You know what, let's just go in between here for the sake of me. And we'll suffer. If we had speed friendship training, that would have been nice, but we didn't, so pain. Otherwise, I think we just take all the skills we can just to try and win here, because I'd rather take skills and win and get a chance at the URA spark rather than nothing. Also, we did have concentration, so whoops. And then we'll just take everything that has to do with acceleration, most likely. If we can get a sprint runner, otherwise, I mean, we are built wits. I can take red skills, because I think they do attack based on wits, most of them, if not all of them. So we'll just take a bunch of these. And off we go. Some people say that they don't do as much. Some people say that they actually do have an effect. Not a lot of people say that they have an extreme effect, but maybe I'm just wrong and I'm just reading the wrong or trying to understand from the wrong people. I sometimes like to see if people know what trainers know what they're talking about by checking to see if they, actually know what they're talking about and what sources they have, or, if they know what they're talking about. Basically, I know I've repeated that phrase like 3 times, but hey, not that I know as much. I get, but that's why I say it outright. Like what I say is speculation, unless it's something just straight out like, I think someone mentioned recently, it's like, well, they weren't wrong. It was something along the lines of, you can have a lot of supports appear in the same training and they don't have to share the same stat. That's true, but the thing that you really should look at is the specialty priority. And if you've heard anything about Kita-san Black, at least if not for me, then somewhere else, then specialty priority does help out with landing the same type of training and lowering the RNG of having more supports appear at once. Which makes the most sense if you're training basically with 4 to 5 speed cards, which is what happens with a lot of girls. But unfortunately for me, all I have is a bunch of rare cards after H-Team Flash and the Special Week event cards, so that's not going to happen for me for a while. Basically, when Kita-san Black comes out, I'm going to go speed a lot more. But I'd also like a Super Creek for myself, even if I don't uncap my Super Creek. Yeah. And for those who might not understand why following is not something that you should really, really rely on, it's something you should rely on, but from what I see, it seems like I'll just save it from me, I'll just take the bullet here, but it seems like a lot of trainers rely too much on following for support. Which, I mean, again, it can provide a very big use. I've used it myself, like, if for a guest, for Legacy, or for support cards at a high level. I mean, I'm using a level 40 Super Creek right now. And as much as some trainers want to laugh and be like, ha, I have a level 50 Fine Motion or Super Creek following someone, and we're actually mutual. But what I'm trying to get at here is that you can only follow so many for the same training, especially if you're, say, for example, you're as Gold Chip crazy as I am, and you're trying to make Gold Chip. I don't want to keep borrowing Super Creek. Because what if I want to borrow something else like a strength card, which is something that I really don't have. I think I finally have one strength card, but basically I like it to be El Condor Pasa. I think El Condor Pasa is the go-to, for me anyway. For gold chip in general, I mean, El Condor Pasa isn't bad, but again, it depends on what you're trying to do specifically as well. Also, we're stuck in the back because I think we're having a strength problem. But maybe we pull ahead here, but yeah, without proccing Silent Suzuka's unique here, which is not going to happen in the next 200 meters, bad things can happen. But maybe Triumphant Pulse? Triumphant Pulse! Also, I know I've said it before, we'll say it again. Oh, special week. Silent no! From out of the blue, the commenter didn't mention Grass Wonder at all. That was... And these are the races. This is why I play Uma Musume. Because this is funny. But... I could clock here. I should actually clock here, if for no other reason than for content's sake. Watch me place worse after 3 clocks, which is probably all the clocks I want to use. I'll use 2 clocks. I'm just gonna put down my cards here and say I'm gonna clock twice only, because I do want to go plus on clocks daily. All right, you get 3 clocks guaranteed from sales, and yeah, maybe you get more through events, but I don't normally like to rely on something that is, again, one time essentially, which is my whole kind of shtick on. Basically the carrot economy, but it makes sense if things happen recurrently. So I guess to devil's advocate my own opinions and arguments here, they are things. But one-time things like obviously going through the career and the missions doesn't make as much sense. So we'll skip to the end here. For the next race though, if we fail again, thankfully we're doing better here. Hopefully no one passes us so we can do Silent Suzuka stuff. And yeah, there we go. But... as we have if I don't win here, I guess I'll Batsu myself somehow. But the other thing I wanted to say, I think I'll mention it again, but let's see here. Yeah, we should win. Basically, if I don't get 30,000 carats by the time the banner comes out, so not 30,000 during the banner, and if I do all my pulls, basically, when Kita-san Black comes out, I'm going to do all my pulls, whether I have 30,000 or not. If I don't have 30,000, if I get only 1 copy or less, or if I don't draw a single copy of Kita-san Black, I'll Batsu myself. Probably something along the lines of I'll do 10 to 20 gold chip runs in a row. And there's an easy way to prove it. I mean, kind of an easy way to prove it. I guess I could stream it as well just to make absolute sure. But if you don't believe me with my words, I mean, I don't. Yeah. So I guess we'll see. If nothing else, I'll at least record 20 gold chip runs in a week's time. So I'll try to save enough resources for when that happens. Otherwise, it's something fun that I can do while making... Hey, I'm a content creator, and in my opinion, at least for myself, it's my job to create content, which also includes coming up with ideas and whatnot. But as we finish off this Silent Suzuka run, yeah, we can go over some stuff in the meanwhile. So if nothing else, yeah, we'll go over my previous Silent Suzuka and how I was trying to train. If for no one else than myself, but definitely to look at how training can differ. So, you're also going to see a bunch of my failed Haru Uraras because I was doing some Haru Uraras. I was trying to do some dirt race stuff, but because yeah, essentially Silent Suzuka is going to replace either El Condor Pasa or Oguri Cap for dirt runs. And now everyone's going to jump on me and say to make Oguri Cap my dirt runner or dirt race runner, but I'm actually going to make El Condor Pasa my dirt race. Or going to try to. More specifically because it fits in with more my inspiration loop at the moment. I'm sure Oguri Cap, or any girl really, can be good for inspirations overall, but I'm going to give myself another try. Also, yeah, we rolled power, which is absolutely low, and then we didn't get the URA anyway, so this is not great. I mean, when people count stars in terms of, hey, this is a 6-star inspiration girl, do they count just the stat and the aptitude? Anywho, I gotta look at how aptitude is also graded as well. I feel like it's just the aptitude, overall aptitude, right? Anywho, we'll complete this run and move on. But otherwise, as always, I mean, Future Jordan should probably put in a card at some point to at least show you the playlist. That way you're not waiting for the end screen and not already out of this video. Otherwise, yeah, we'll sit here and do our best. Also, I think in the first, even just 4 or 5 days, people had like millions of event points already, so that's the power of a whale, apparently. And if I'm wrong, someone can correct me, who knows. But, as we do here, and yeah, every time you get a new Uma Musume, you do get about, pretty much, let's say you get 1.5 scouts, so a worth of carrots, so about 200 carrots for their story. But again, that's what I count as one time. So let's just show what my current veteran list looks like. And I have transferred a few. Mostly it's those that failed in like the third or fourth goal. But yeah, I was doing King Halo because I think I needed another runner. And then yeah, my Haru Urara's here. But let's go to the Silent Suzuka. So the story of the Silent Suzuka, if I were to show you here, is that, yeah, I started using Super Creek, but this is the one where I had like 4 to 5 turns of trying to recover from a migraine, and I think that's really evident when you look at, well, basically the end there. You know, I know it was somewhere in the later half of the training, and it was not good. Even though I got first in all of the goal races, I think I was doing races in between, which is why the overall number of fans might be higher. Question mark? There's a lot you can learn. If you always want to know about how someone trained their girl, even though it may not be specific turn-to-turn action, you can definitely ask someone for their, what do you want to call this card, their details of the girl. So, yeah. Actually, did I race them a lot? Anywho. In any case, yeah, this did not go as well. Did I replace anything? No, that was pretty much the same one, yeah. Tazuna, Asian Flash Spechan, and then Daiwa Scarlet Agnes Tachyon with a borrowed level 40 Super Creek. And you can definitely do better. There are still people sitting on basically max limit broken cards. They do get taken quick though, so if you see someone like that, I just do a gentleman's. Usually when I'm borrowing like that, I do a gentleman's little agreement where I just unfollow as soon as I start the training so that other people can train. That some people might be saying, well, Jordan, you're being too nice, but anywho. Out of curiosity, I'm going to look at my recommendeds. Oh no, the friend stuff. But anywho, so yeah, again, you can go through this. I think I have things based on level and whatnot. But yeah, as even just case in point, or I'm at maximum follows. Whoopsies. Well, I'm pretty sure someone is long gone. So I'm sorry I'm doing this, but as long as, especially if you're not a mutual, we'll do this. Sorry. But I think I was doing this for the drink. Never mind. Okay, I don't know why I did things. I think I was trying out some wit stuff. But if we do this here, doesn't show then. Can I do it through this? No, I can't. Huh. All right. Cool story. That's interesting. I think it refreshes the list. So all I did was hurt myself by not being at max. Well, if there's nothing else to learn, well, that's interesting. Unless there's a way to refresh it so you can actually follow. But yeah, without further ado, I mean, the last things I'll say is, yes, the carrot economy isn't as bad as it looks, but if you want a little bit more, it can there's much that can be desired. I won't basically doubt anyone on looking down on the game, Musume, but at the same time, if you're just, unless you're really trying to sweat it out, you shouldn't have as many complaints. But there are things to criticize here and there. But without further ado, yeah, not really much else to say here. I will be looping my inspiration, and I'll just be doing a bunch of gold chip, because I'm still trying to get that title. I think I've just defaulted to the Steamy Memories title, like everyone else, but as the end screen shows here, if you want to see something specific, let me know, whether it's something from my profile. Otherwise, I'll let you know if I can and can't do it, and without further ado, I think I'll call it here. So I have 49 toughness 30s, I'll remember to save about 10-20, and I'll see you later. Thank you for watching. Bye!